missing metadata beware. Following is kind of long and the usual convoluted video screencast that I tend to do about missing metadata. And in my case, the missing metadata was the following two fields. And the two fields were camera ID, clip ID, and there was a couple other ones. And this relates to Final Cut Pro 10 when importing a clip, either from a folder or actually importing it from the card, the SD card. Now I know some cameras have an AVCHD structure, and I know some cards just record a .mov file directly to the card. In my case, I have a GH3 and it records directly to the card, so you can actually see it. You don't have to do this weird clip wrap stuff. So anyway, that's what it's all about, and I'll probably repeat that at the beginning, but there you have it. I just watched episode 247. By the way, this little video is about metadata. The AVCHD, when stuff was in certain folders and structure, you basically had to do the import. Well, sometimes you would use clip wrap, and then clip wrap would then you kind of suck the files out with clip wrap, and then you just drag them in to Final Cut Pro 10. Now, if you have a camera like the newish GH3, some of the Canon cameras, they very nicely put the files on the card under the DSIM, I think it is, folder, and excuse me, this is not in the AVCHD structure, and you can just, in a sense, what I have been doing is just dragging them from the card into a folder, and then I will do an import into Final Cut Pro 10. Now, having said that, you can do it that way, but you do lose some metadata. Now, whether this is important to you, I'm not sure. We're going to see in this little clip here that I'm recording right now, whether this is important to you. If you're shooting a massive documentary project, which is something that I may be doing in the near future, hopefully, then this may be information, metadata that you may want. As you will see, because one of the metadata fields is a clip ID, which is kind of a unique identifier. And sometimes you run into problems with having clips the same name. Sometimes you use two different cameras and they're both using the same name by default. Or I've run into that before. So I will show you what I'm talking about. Right now, it's all theory and talk. So getting into Final Cut Pro, here I have two clips. One of them, this particular one here, came from doing an import, putting the card in, and then actually doing, Command I, or actually just the interface just pops up for the import. The other one, I actually did an import, the same thing, but I did it from a folder. So in other words, I dragged the clip from the card first to a folder, and then I did the import from the folder. So I'll go over that again. I'm kind of waffling here as I normally do. The first clip here, I did an import directly from the card into Final Cut Pro 10.1. This clip here was imported from a folder. Now you might say, well, it's the same thing, right? Because it's basically, with my camera, like I say, all the files are just under the DCIM directory, and you can just go and browse that directory, not like the AVCHD before. Well, that is not the case, because you do lose some metadata. You lose, at least in my case, you lose a couple of fields of metadata. You might say, metadata, what's metadata? If we go over here, and I'm going to try and zoom in now. Oopsie, is that it? Excuse me, I don't know if this thing is exactly going to work. But if you go over here, there we go, and you look over here, this essentially start, end, duration, this is metadata that it is pulling from the camera. And normally you're in this thing here. Let me just zoom out a little bit less. Oopsie. Normally you're in this basic view. so what you want to do to see all your metadata, because you only see a certain number of fields, what you want to do is set up a new view, and I've called it video all. And what you'll do is, so you've got to mess around with this thing. You've got to go into edit metadata view, and then under here on the left you'll see these are the preset views you have, but you can just choose you can choose basic view, and then see it says all properties. You want to do video properties, and then check all these like I have done in this view over here that says video all. And then at the bottom you do once you've checked all, then you want to do save metadata view as, and I made it a video all metadata view. And I'm sure there's other tutorials out there that will explain this, but that's what I did. And as you can see, my view video all has all of these, see all these crazy pieces of information that your camera probably doesn't put out. Frame size, and it's bizarre because down here it has something about PAL on my camera. It says I'm shooting PAL on my GH3, which is bizarre. So once you've created that, I'm going to basically switch to it over here, and I hope you can actually see this. Whoopsie. Sorry, I'm in zoom view here, and it's kind of freaking out a little bit. So I'm going to switch to my video all view, and then and I'm going to actually zoom back now because this thing isn't really working. I apologize. Okay, so now if we take the clip that came directly that we just dragged, how I normally did it, rather than just doing the import from the card, if we take the clip that just came from just having the clip on my hard drive, and we go down here, we'll see there's a couple of things. One of them is called clip ID. If you can see, my cursor is on over here on the right hand side now, clip ID. And there's also another one that says camera ID. You can see they're blank. It probably would have been better to go to the other one first, but if we click on the other, we click on the identical clip, essentially, it's just a little bit shorter because I just did it in an out point. You can see that the camera ID is indeed filled in and the clip ID is filled in. So what that tells me is when you just do this drag and drop method, you're losing, you'll see it's gone, you're losing that data, that metadata. I can't see anything else. Oh, down here I see source format, it says PAL, and it's kind of bizarre. I don't know why it says PAL. So it's losing that. And this metadata, there's no standards for what a camera can use, I believe, as far as there's no standards for what a video clip, what metadata a video clip will record. It's just up to the manufacturer, I believe. So whether you need that or not, whether you need camera ID or clip ID, who knows? But if you're doing a massive project, maybe you're using 5 cameras, maybe you have 10,000 video clips, then having those unique identifiers may be a lifesaver. Maybe you're good enough about renaming your clips before they even come into the camera, etc., etc. But if you rename the clips before they come into the camera rather than just doing the actual import from the card, you will miss that data. Miss those pieces of metadata. So this is just something I've discovered, and it's kind of I don't know whether it's a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of. And I'd be interested to what other people say about this. I've heard this before, especially with AVCHD, but I have not heard it. Now we have these new options with Final Cut Pro 10.1. It'd be interesting to see. Do you need those 2 pieces of information? I mean, if those are the only 2 pieces that are missing, maybe that's not that important. I know with stuff like the Blackmagic Cinema camera, you have the option to add all this metadata, so you can add things like, I'm on the right hand side here, people, just scrolling through. You can add stuff like, I think you can add notes. I think you can add reel and scene and things like that. So it could be that there's a possibility that you'd lose that when you do the import. I don't know. That totally depends upon the camera. So anyway, this is just what I discovered, and it's kind of interesting. And if you could comment on what I'm talking about, maybe I'm talking out of my bottom here, but those two fields on a Panasonic GH3 do appear to be missing. So there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching, listening.